Are you married or in a committed relationship looking for real advice on having love and enriching your relationship? You are in the right place. Welcome to The Couples Expert with Stuart Fensterheim.
Hello, and welcome to the Couples Expert Podcast. This is Stuart Fensterheim. And if you're a regular on listening to this podcast, I want to really welcome you again to this show. And if you're brand new in listening here, I want to welcome you. Thank you for joining us and let you know that this podcast is the podcast for connections. This is about having a special relationship, whether it's with a boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, or wife, where the two of you are committed beyond anything else to having your relationship be a special one where there's no one else in the world that's more committed to your happiness than your partner. In addition, I want to welcome you to the month of February, or what's also known as the month of love. This is the month of celebrations. We have Valentine's Day, President's Day, Ash Wednesday, Chinese New Year. The biggest celebration, though, for this month, for me, is this is my last child reaching the age of maturity because she is turning 21 years old. And for her, more importantly, the legal age of drinking and going to all Las Vegas casinos. The speed of time that happens always amazes me. I think as I've turned 62, I've realized the fact that time is relative. And that fact that it's already February is pretty darn frightening. And right around February, I always reflect back onto past holidays. You know, we just went through Thanksgiving, Hanukkah, Christmas, and New Year. This year especially has been a really hard year. As some of you who have been listening for a while know, my dad passed away in October. Having gone through the first round of holidays without him has been so incredibly hard. My dad was an advocate of making every day count. And there's nothing more important, and there was nothing more important to him than getting together with family. And how many of us don't make the time to attend family celebrations? One of the stories he likes to tell is he was a dentist out of New York, and he forego seeing his parents because he had all these patients that same day that he wanted to see and he needed to see, were on the calendar. He didn't want to cancel. So he didn't see his parents. And his mother died in a car crash that same day. He had a sit shiva, being that we were Jewish, and he ended up taking an entire week off for that. And his anguish of that really stuck with him. And he would tell the story of how important celebrations, and when there was a celebration, he always made it up so big. I recall his 80th birthday celebration. There were about 250 people there, and because he had the financial resources, he actually paid for a lot of the people to come and have the most fantastic time. And he did that almost every 5 years. And every time there was a celebration, he and his family would get together and we would just really celebrate with him and really acknowledging how important it is for families to get together and not to wait until it's too late and then wish you had. So in his honor, I'm dedicating this podcast because this podcast is on the importance of family celebrations. One of the things to keep in mind is that we grow up with our parents and our siblings, and part of growing into an adult is to break away and be independent. That was sort of the reflection I was giving earlier about my daughter turning 21. And one of the things she does, and I think we all do, and she has done so well, is forge her own path as an individual and making our way into the world. My daughter knows what she wants and she's going for it. I think that's what we want to have happen with family. With family, we want in the beginning to have our children really be following our own values, but as they grow up, they begin to venture out on their own, making their own choices and own decisions. And as parents, we want to support that. If we're lucky, when we do that with the loving support of our family, who aren't always crazy about some of the things we do. When I see some of these kids with cage earrings, it sort of grosses me out, I have to be honest. But at the same time, that and tattoos and some of the things that kids nowadays do is a little bit different than when I was growing up. But hopefully, as parents and as a family, we're able to look beyond some of the choices that made and just send the message that we love them and that we become, as a family, a safety net and support system, giving our children a confidence of striking out on their own and making their own choices. And that if they fall, we'll be there. Sometimes, though, that doesn't happen in all families. And a breaking away is not as a result of a loving, growing, venturing out, like going to college or going to work. That connection is broken because it's about conflict. Kids running away or kids moving out because they can't stand being around their family. That is very, very sad to me. And what happens there is it can lead to where there's a population where kids are lost and get involved in all these terrible things, including drugs or illegal activity. The fact of coming to age doesn't have to mean that kids are going to make right choices. And sometimes kids face life challenges totally on their own with no one to turn to. Even older kids need to have parenting support. And, my mom and dad always said, you always will be my baby. You'll always be my child. Well, I think that's accurate. I think if families, we as parents have to always send the message that we'll always be there. And one of the things that's so wonderful for me in my life has been, regardless of what has happened in my life, I know I've always had my siblings who sometimes I don't see a lot just because of life circumstances, but always know that they'll always be there. All I have to do is pick up the phone. And those kids that aren't so lucky to have those kinds of families may grow up in very dysfunctional families of their own, and it's a repetitive cycle that is very sad for me as a counselor, as an individual, as a person to see. The longer we're on our own, the older we get. I believe if you come from a healthy background, you begin to appreciate more your parents and family as a whole. I recall with my dad, I mentioned that I'm dedicating this podcast to him. But early on in my life, in another phase, another chapter, the commitment I made to myself when we were growing up was the last thing I want to do is be anything like him. I think all of us can remember times like that. And then as I got older, the commitment and the statements I would make is, as much as I can, I want to be like him because he was the most giving, loving man that I've known. And yes, there were characteristics and flaws that he had, but his heart was always there. It's great to know that there's a home base. More often than not, it's mom's and dad's house where we can come back to visit and have a safe place to land and a listening ear. When young adults have that kind of support system, what we know is they will be much more successful than those who don't have it. And what comes out of family celebrations is the ability to touch base with your family on a regular basis. I believe very much we should celebrate every family members and every occasion as a family. Every holiday, every birthday, every anniversary, you should be with your family. Life sometimes doesn't allow it. But is it that it doesn't allow it, or we don't make it a priority and we don't make it important? We should celebrate our children's special occasions as a family. And I've talked before, and I'll probably do another podcast on this in the distant near future, that even with a divorce, there should be the ability to put the differences aside and celebrate as a family. That doesn't mean you hang out over Christmas. But if your child is doing something special and they're getting an award, everyone should sit there. And in my mind, everyone should sit together. And the child should know that you are putting your feelings about one another aside because they are important to you. And that when there are celebrations, and there has been a divorce, have separate celebrations. You could celebrate the same holidays with the separate families that may have been created. Having family celebrations is critical to our family members having a successful life and a successful family of their own. In this busy world, and I'm saying that sometimes it's difficult for families to do that, I really think we haven't made it important enough. I advocate very much a return to family get-togethers. And one of the things that my dad did when he passed away in his will is he left us some money. And the finances he left us was slotted specifically for family celebrations, so that even those family members that don't have the financial resources, even after he's gone, he's still there and he's helping us all do that. It's a wonderful thing. When is the last time you took a relationship checkup? Sure, we get our vehicles serviced, have maintenance done on our homes, and see our local doctor to make sure our bodies are in good working order. But sadly, we tend to neglect one of the most important things in our lives, the health of our relationship. You get mammograms, you get a prostate check, but do you check your relationship? Most of us don't. The relationship checkup and assessment will provide you with a comprehensive information about the level of satisfaction you have with your partner, how deep the emotional connection is, how strong your trust and commitment is, and whether or not you deal with conflict well. The best part is you don't have to do it alone. The couples expert will provide you with a 30-minute consultation to help you feel really strong and empowered to do all that you can, because you take the ownership of your relationship by the two of you working together and taking the annual survey. For merely the cost of dinner and a movie, you can set yourself on the road to a fulfilling and fabulous relationship that will last a lifetime. Go to www.thecouplesexperts.com and sign up today to register for your relationship checkup. Now back to the episode. Every family should connect on a very regular basis. If you and your parents and in-laws live too far away to see one another, you can meet somewhere in between. Time is fleeting, and we're not getting younger. Your children deserve to know their grandparents before they pass away. It's a really sad thing that we live in all of these different places. We don't really have this family village anymore, where parents and grandparents live together, love together, celebrate together, be together. We want and should know our grandparents and great-grandparents. My ex-wife has a photo that was such a wonderful photo. It was a photo of 4 generations of the same family, and that they would get together. And when everyone was living, it was a special time when that occurred. The stories that would be told, and how much love there was being shared by everyone. There is a special bond between grandparents and grandchildren. And I'm always thrilled when my mom reaches out to my children and just says, let me take you out to dinner. They're doing something shortly, particularly because it's my daughter Rachel's birthday. So my mom, her grandma, is going to spend some special one-on-one time. That's a family celebration. Now, here's what makes it sort of difficult sometimes. If you come from a complicated family, this can make things very difficult, especially if family aren't just blood relatives. It depends how you define family. I choose to define family more from your heart. So my brothers, and I have stepbrothers and stepsisters, half-brothers and half-sisters. I don't think of them as my half-brother. They're my brother. And as I've gotten older, and as we've moved away from the home, we've actually gotten closer because it's about sharing a family feeling, a family culture, a family togetherness. Who you love isn't about blood. Who you love is about the environment. My stepfather is my dad. I have two dads. I love him as much as I love my father. There's a difference. I'm not denying that. But when we get together, that difference disappears. Now that my dad has passed away, my stepfather, there's obviously more opportunities for me to see him and spend time with him. I like that fact. I don't like the reason, but I like the fact that I get to spend time and see him more often now than I have before. My sense is going to be over the next few years, and hopefully he'll be around for a very long time. And I just spent time with him, and my brother, who was actually my half-brother, but my brother has invited all of us to go see Adam Sandler. And that's exciting for me. We're going to spend time. He loves wine. I'm learning to love wine. I'm more a whiskey person. I'm learning to love wine, as my wife would tell you. But I love the fact that we get to share experiences, which then bonds our connection even more. You get to decide who's your family. Adopt your partner's family is one of the keys I want to really talk about. You and your partner, having linked your lives together, have also married your family together. It's wonderful when everyone can be one big happy family. Everyone benefits, especially the children. It really does take a village, as I've talked about already, to raise happy children. The more aunts, uncles, and elders that your child is able to grow up with, the better. Today's helicopter parents can learn to let go a little and let their children spend time away from them with people that they can trust. And isn't it wonderful when the child care is a family member? But how should we celebrate family? We need to make it a point to do so. We arrange get-togethers, we plan holiday activities, we call each other regularly and see each other when we can. We need to make that effort to cultivate and keep those important relationships as a priority. Make a commitment, put it on your calendar if you're someone that forgets, to at least connect with every single person in your family once or twice a month. The sad thing, when I do couples counseling, I have people that come in to see me, and part of what I do is a family background. And when I talk to people and they tell me, I haven't seen my brother or sister in a couple of years. We had a falling out. We don't speak. I recently did a podcast on that. If you want to check back in the archives, you can listen to it. But how sad. And what I always see is that issue that comes up for you and your partner. If you can let go of family that easy, What does that mean about the confidence I have that we're going to be together forever? Who you are with your family is suggestive of what you're going to be like as a partner. If you're someone who's dating and don't know and trying to ask yourself, should I be with this person or not? I highly recommend you take a look at what's someone like with their family. It will suggest the kinds of challenges you may have in your future, in my opinion. Encourage your partner to connect with their family if they're having a struggle. I believe a loving partner needs to turn to their partner that is not having much contact with their family and really push them to make amends. Make it easy for your partner to connect with their family. Don't make demands on their time that would conflict with that. I see that happening all the time. It's sort of sabotaging those kinds of things. Emphasize the importance of family to your children. Tell them that certain nights are off limits to them hanging out with their friends because that's family time, or their friends can join you, the more the merrier. But this is a commitment that we have, that we're going to stay committed in our family and spending time in certain days. Like, one of the things that I love about the Jewish religion is that there are certain set-in times. Shabbat, which starts Friday night and Saturday night, you're with your family. No one goes and does anything else. Family stays together. It's a unique experience to have certain times like that just is family. And it's not a problem usually, because for a lot of Jewish families, they have friends that also celebrate Shabbat in that way. Make your own family togetherness a non-negotiable event. I want to say it again. Make sure everyone knows this. This doesn't mean that you have to deal with anyone who isn't loving or put up with toxic people. I want to be clear about that. Just because someone's family doesn't mean that there aren't certain issues. But what we have to teach our children and teach ourselves is the concept of compassion and empathy, and setting healthy boundaries and working it through as a family. We should be able to love our family and still not agree with their choices. I had a couple the other day that we were talking about this, and what they said to me is, as a result of certain decisions, some life choices that someone made, their family has fallen apart. That to me is really sad. Is family one in which our children, who we want to branch out on their own, have to be carbon copies of us? I would hope not. I would hope that we could have family, and I'm not just talking about sexual orientation here, talking about other kinds of choices. This year especially, we've seen families falling apart over our president. How sad that a political stand would have a family fall apart, and that you couldn't have Democrat, Republican, Independent, pro-Trump, anti-Trump, all sit together, loving each other, accepting everyone has a right to their own choices and their own opinions. Families should be able to talk about everything together. However, I'm going to say, as that we all know, politics sometimes is not a good idea. Religion sometimes is not a good idea. But no subject should be off limits. And there should be no judgment or shame of discussing any subject. This is how kids learn about conflict, about difference, about resolution, about people's values, and all the differences that come with that. Teach our children to watch out for one another. It's sort of a funny kind of thing, but it's actually a serious thing, where in our family especially, you don't mess with anyone. I'm the only one that gets to mess with my brother or sister. If anyone outside the family does it, they're going to have hell to pay. That concept is a wonderful concept. And I recall a time that one of the kids was having a problem, and her half-brother got in the mix and did something that I probably would have given him a consequence for if he did it at home. He became somewhat aggressive, And he stood up for her, and I gave him a consequence for doing that. But there was a huge smile on my face that said, "Attaboy." We want that kind of connection that families have with each other. There's a strength in numbers, and siblings that show a united front for each other show the importance of family. They instill confidence in each other and that we can take risks. One of the things I talk a lot about is that having a close connected relationship with your partner will allow you to take more risks on your business and take more chances in your life because of that foundation. The family is the biggest one of those kinds of things. I want you to recognize that there is a soft place to land, that you have someone in your life that will be there no matter what. And if that's not what you have, I highly recommend that you think about some family counseling, because you want to create that for every single member of your family. And if you're one of the fortunate ones that have been able to do that, if you have a close family, you are the luckiest person alive. Every relationship has ups and downs. Family is forever. Remember that. Let that be a mantra. So please call your parents, visit your grandparents, get everyone together just because, and reinforce the bonds. Plan a reunion, plan a destination vacation, plan a cruise. Get everyone in the same room, tell stories, share history, and just be together. This sometimes can be your only chance. So don't let it pass you by. Tomorrow's never promised to us. So reach out to your family today and send love their way. I want to thank you for joining me today on this podcast. I love having you guys with me, where all of us can really begin to work as a society of having a family unit. The foundation is the two of you as a couple to really have a connected relationship, be intergenerational. Please remember that you can always communicate with me to give me suggestions, ideas. If you like what I'm doing, if you think something I did was not wise, I'd like to hear from you with any suggestion on subject areas or anything. And write to me at podcast@thecouplesexperts.com. And please remember to check out the website at www.thecouplesexperts.com, where we have tons of resources and articles, and my YouTube channel, The Couples Experts. And please also know that you can always sign up on the website for my Stuart's Daily Notes. And that's a free service that you can get 5 videos every single week with a tip for the day to keep in mind of how to have that relationship that will last forever. Take care, and we'll talk to you next week. Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening. This episode has ended, but your journey continues. Head over to www.thecouplesexperts.com to access all the links and resources mentioned in this episode, as well as bonus content exclusive to podcast listeners. Enjoyed this episode? Why not hit subscribe now and never miss an episode?